When you're heading out to the beach on a hot sunny day, what do you put in your bag? You bring a towel, maybe a little coconut oil, and a good pair of togs that won't leave you with a bad tan line, right? But what wouldn't you bring? Definitely not a bag of bricks. You can't lay on them. You definitely can't dry off with them after a swim, and they'd only weigh you down on the walk there. That's how I see sadness. Life will always be a beach, so you don't want to be carrying anything that'll just bring you down. But of course that's always easier said than done. There have been times in my life where the bricks have gotten so heavy I could hardly keep moving at all. But then I figured out how to drop them. See, my mum grew up Catholic. She was always on at me about the 10 Commandments, thou shalt not steal and all that. Now I'd broken about 6 of these by the time I was 10, so I clearly wasn't all that bothered about religion. But the other day when I woke up, I had an epiphany. I could make up my own commandments. The 10 Commandments of Jane. Has a pretty good ring to it, eh? But then I realised I couldn't quite think of 10, so I changed it to 5. 5 rules on how to lead a successful life. The first thing you gotta do is secure suitable accommodation. It's important to be central, especially if you don't have any means of transport. You want to be close to the greengrocer, the liquor store and the public library. You also want to make sure you have a flushing toilet and a stovetop. When I first moved here, it was pretty hard to find anything that classy in my price range. So I spent a couple of days scouting out the city and I found this little place. Cute garden, nice big living room and a stocked pantry. The owners are away in Fiji for a couple of weeks. They left a draft itinerary from their travel agent on the dining room table. So I'll call it home for a little while until something better comes up. I like staying here because I don't have to pay any rent, but it is a little drafty from the hole I left in the kitchen window. My second tip is to control your vices. I try to only have 3 vices at one time. Right now, my vices are drinking alcohol, smoking, and fashion. Everyone needs a few healthy vices to keep them going, give them a little bit of pleasure in life. But if you have too many, things can get out of control. I think 3 is a healthy number for me. I can afford to buy smokes, a couple of bottles of bourbon and a top from a second-hand shop and still have a little left over for food. I actually only started smoking recently, and when I did I had to give up on weed since I didn't want to have 4 vices. That would make me an addict. Speaking of vices brings me to my most important tip of all. It's 1974. Every independent woman should have a career so they can afford to buy their own smokes. This is something I'm actually still working on. You can't find yourself a career by just sitting on your ass. You have to get up and look for it. The other day I was in town and I noticed my local greengrocers was looking for staff. So I ran home and put on my most professional outfit. By the time I got back to the store, the man at the counter told me they'd already hired someone. I was a bit let down by that, to be completely honest, but I'll give you a little bonus tip here. Always be glad that you tried your best. When the next business opportunity comes up, I'm sure I'll be first in. I learnt a little lesson from that day. If I had been dressed professionally, I wouldn't have had to head back home to change, and I could have snagged myself a serious career. Since then, I've always made sure to look my best at all times. This is my 4th tip. There's no excuse for looking sloppy. I always try to have pride in my appearance, and I've started up a strict beauty regime that's sure to snag me a job in no time. Every morning I wash my face with a bar of soap and make sure I use face cream too. I try not to wear too much makeup, but on special days I like to put a little bit of colour around my eyes. This pink is my favourite colour to wear. I ran out once and tried to use a lipstick to fill in my eyes instead, but by the middle of the day my eyes had puffed up so much I looked like a blowfly and I had to go home and lie down. It's good to experiment with your appearance and try new things, but always remember to take your health seriously too. The lipstick might have looked fantastic on my eyelids, but it wasn't worth it in the end. The day I had to go home and lie down because I couldn't see might have been the day my dream job was advertised. As a self-sufficient woman, I can't afford to take sick days. But when you work as hard as I do, it's definitely important to enjoy your leisure time as well. This brings me to my last tip. Always make the most of your days off. I take Wednesdays and Thursdays off because the local pub has weekday deals running on the tap beers. I like to get started early and try and work off the stress from the week. Every Wednesday I get dressed up, put on some makeup and get into the bars by about 3 in the afternoon. It's nice to have a place where I'm a regular. It's kind of like being a celebrity. Everyone in here knows my name and they know what I like to drink. I used to drink straight whiskey until I decided it might be quite nice to remember my days off. Now I start with a couple of beers before I get onto the bourbon and cola, and I keep that going until I head home at about 11. Then I spend the whole Thursday recovering. Wild Wednesdays is what I call them. have become a bit of a tradition. Really, it all comes down to a good work-life balance, and I think I've perfected it. I definitely don't want to pretend to be an expert. I mean, I've only been in this life 29 years, and quite a number of those have been a complete mess. But since I've started putting these 5 commandments first, my life has really turned around. They keep me looking forward towards a better future. Right now I'm working on putting together the perfect professional look, and I know that when it's ready, there's no way I won't find the perfect job.